Hey everybody, this is Cyberspook, and this is the Cyberspook live stream about the poison pushers, a Native Hawaiian perspective on the U.S. and its military forcing more toxic water and systems onto us Hawaiians. So I'm gonna try to keep this on the target. Uh, I have talked a lot about this topic in the last years, but it's been some time since I focused on it specifically. Um, yeah, but to get straight to the point, for some people who maybe haven't kept up on this story, you may have heard about this in the news years ago, 2021. There was a very large gas fossil fuel leak by the United States military at Red Hill of tens of thousands of gallons of jet fuel, and it entered the Hawaii water supply, the largest sole source aquifer. Basically, it's an underground freshwater reservoir that's naturally occurring. It's a freshwater lens that supplies water to at least 400,000 people. It's really the majority of Hawaii uses the water, because most of the Hawaii's businesses are on the southeast side, in the Honolulu area, where this Waikiki is also in this area. And so the U.S. military basically poisoned basically the majority of Hawaii, and if not their home residence, their job, because you don't, if you don't have clean water, like on this shirt, this is a shirt that was produced back in the 2021 time period. It says Ola Ikavai shut down Red Hill, Red Hill tanks. Water is life. So Ola is just a little bit of Hawaiian for a little. Let me zoom in on that case we can see. So, in Hawaiian language, Ola, life, Vai. Vai actually has many meanings, but one meaning is fresh water. There's Kai, like Hawaii Kai is is a place, but it also is a Kai means the ocean. And Vai is fresh water, because the ocean water is not drinkable, right? In our Hawaiian and Austronesian Pacifica people's history, like the fresh water is very valuable, because if you don't have fresh water, you can't grow crops, you can't function, you can't have life. You don't have life on the land, or the Hawaiian word for land is aina. So and aina means that which feeds and that which sustains, right? There's no concept of private property, and it's kind of like bought and sold capitalist territory that you steal and put slaves on, or minimally paid workers to exploit them for a tiny minority of ruling class's benefit and divide the populations. So that whole concept of like land as that which is owned and controlled for profit is like foreign to us. That's another aspect of the toxic systems that have been foisted onto us. The capitalist, colonialist, this racist systems, imperialist systems, making Hawaiians, as part of that, using us as cannon fodder. That's part of these systems in Vietnam, in Korea, in Iraq to this day, making us like kind of like putting us into jobs where we're dancing fake plastic hula for barely enough to survive, chasing dollars so we can pay $3,000 rents for small 2 bedrooms. That system was another toxic system that was brought here by the United States, by the West in general, the colonial capitalist Western world. And those are all poisons as well, obviously. So, but like, why? Coming back to that. So, Vai is fresh water. It means that which it is life, right? So Ola, life. Ola Ikavai means the water is life. water is life, right? Fresh water in particular. But you also need the kai. You need the moana is a culturally appropriated movie that I talked about recently that didn't benefit Hawaiians at all. It actually hurt us more by a giant imperialist capitalist cultural appropriator, Disney, working with the U.S. military and the U.S. Empire. You can watch the video I recently put out about that to learn more about that. But Moana, it actually means the ocean, that which it connects and all of us together. And the ocean has life as well, obviously. But if you want fresh water on the Aina, on the land, the dry land, you need the vai. And so vai, and this is another word that means wealth, right? So having a lot of vai, right? Then you were well. It doesn't mean wealth in the sense of having billions of dollars, hoarding it, right? We didn't have capitalism, but it means that like you have plenty, and so the people will flourish. If you don't have vai, if you don't have fresh water, right? Then your people may suffer. The land may suffer. The creatures there will suffer, right? So if you don't have a stream, if it's dry, it's too dry for too long, like a drought, which is the U.S. also causes that with colonial capitalist land mismanagement, part of why Lahaina burned, right? Climate change itself caused by what? Capitalist Western U.S.-led systems. So if you don't have you have too little water, which is what we are having. We've in years of drier and drier seasons. Increasing wildfires like Lahaina, right? Then we're losing the wealth. You're losing the fresh water that you need to sustain life. If you poison the water, which the U.S. military did in 2021, and it has been doing that continuously, actually. If you poison the entire island of Oahu's major water source, most of Hawaii lives there. Waikiki is there. Even Disney Aulani. I don't particularly like Disney, but Disney Aulani's $144 million stolen, colonial, stolen Hawaiian land-based, culturally appropriative resort. Disney Aulani might not be able to even run its own resort, so it's self-destructive as well. Right? It's a very self-destructive thing to do. The U.S. military poisoned and threatened the water supply of at least 100,000 of even their own personnel when this first happened. So they can't even manage themselves. The colonial capitalist world can't. The U.S. and its collective West, or its more disaggregated West, can't even manage their own self. They're self-destructing. I just woke up today too. The U.S. is trying to have 12-year-olds and 13 to 14-year-olds do child forced labor for like 12 hours, overnight grueling shifts, and like slave conditions. You can't manage. You can't figure out any other way to do the work and share the wealth, the vai. Apparently not. So that's a toxic system. That's a poisonous system that they want to bring here. They have brought here, and we have to try to take these toxins out of our minds, out of our souls, because they've implanted it when they raise Hawaiians under American Western education. Is brainwashing, right? It poisons you. And when you work in this system, when you work for the hotels, when you become a manager, when you begin thinking in terms of seeking profit above all else, right? Even to the point of destroying your own homeland, which is what's happening. That is what's happening. Hawaii is being destroyed. Most Hawaiians don't live in Hawaii. And some Hawaiians participate in our own self-destruction, unfortunately. Even my own parents, right? They don't believe they're Hawaiian because they were culturally genocided. They were taught that they were not Hawaiian. They were the wrong color of white people. That's literally what they were taught. My mom hates herself. She hates her curly hair. She hates her dark white skin and her wide nose, because Hawaiians, many of them look phenotypically more African. And so that's another toxin: the racism, self-hatred, colonial mentality, right? That's stuff we gotta have to work. There's so much we have to work on cleaning up and drawing out, not just the military bases themselves, the installed colonial mentalities, erasure of our own culture, the ban of our language and culture, and the hula. Trying to get rid of the cultural appropriative giant media capitalist conglomerates like Disney. and everything. Hawaiian pizza is not Hawaiian. Hawaiian shirts are not Hawaiian. I have to relearn all this history. It's so much work. It's so much work. There's so much work just trying to clean this stuff up. It's work that we will keep doing. We have to keep doing, and everyone else who lives in Hawaii, not just Native Hawaiians. I'll have to work on this, but back to the point, the Hawaiian perspective on this. I want to also make clear I am one Hawaiian. I don't represent all Hawaiians. I'm not all Hawaiians. I'm just one, right? So some people may feel differently, and they can be wrong. No, but let's get to what actually happened. I have some threads here. I spent a lot of time sharing about this when the largest public U.S. military poisoning of Hawaii happened. That's just the largest public one, because there's been many. Every year, on average, the U.S. military is leaking jet fuel, PFOS, forever chemicals, super toxic, it's over 1,000 times more toxic than gasoline per ounce. There's many other things. Agent Orange was created here. They test Roundup, Monsanto, like nightmare chemicals in Hawaii. They tested Agent Orange in Hawaii. They developed it and then they deployed it from Hawaii. That's another toxic system that they did. That killed millions of people. This sick substance. So this is the current events. Let me find the older events. Let's see here. Yeah. So the U.S. military. This is just one of many threads that I made, but the U.S. military poisoned our Hawaiian water supply. It still hasn't cleaned the jet fuel in our aquifer. That's true to this very day. Or shut down its tanks. This is still true. Like, I posted this 2 years ago, but all of Oahu's water supply, which is 950,000 plus people, all of the main island, 2/3 of Hawaii's population, that whole area could become unusable. The whole area's water supply could become unusable due to petroleum, salt, and PFOS contamination. So this is from another article. We're in a crisis situation. Our water supply is threatened, from the Board of Water Supply Manager and Chief Engineer Ernie Lau in a public service announcement. Everyone had to start to try to save water because they were running out of water. They're still running out of water. They're still running out of water on Oahu. This crisis hasn't abated. It's just been layered on with more crises. They have asked us to defend for ourselves. They said our water is safe and unaffected in the beginning. So the U.S. military has lied. They've lied repeatedly. The United States government as a whole has lied. Joe Biden lied. Donald Trump, I don't know, if he would keep the lying going, I'm sure. He hasn't commented on it. He's too busy doing other things. But the so-called U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has falsified data for the military and the United States as a whole. So the EPA is deeply corrupt. That's all that told me, which is the University of Hawaii created a report that said this is the level of toxins in the Hawaii water supply, right? And it was very bad, right? And there was actually like an online site that you could visit to see what the state of the water was. And the day after, the United States military and the U.S. federal government was unhappy, and the University of Hawaii took it down. Right. So the university, what do we know about Western universities and complicity in crimes against humanity? So, but they did exactly what the military wanted. The university is totally complicit in this. So the state, U.S. state, illegitimate state, fake state of Hawaii, U.S. It's a military occupation of the country of Hawaii. The U.S. federal government doubled down on this, lied for the military, lied for its military, and the university, the academic institutions, there was the Board of Water Supply. That's a locally operated, and the person who's operating is actually somebody actually from and is part Native Hawaiian person, as far as I recall. And he lives in that area and is actually deeply concerned with the water. But all other U.S. basically all the U.S. state, federal government agencies, Department of Tourism, of course, doesn't care about this. Well, they were a bit concerned, but they basically bow down to the U.S. military. The United States governor, the mayor, there's basically kowtowing whatever the U.S. military wants, and the U.S. empire by extension. U.S. regulators, the EPA, the Sierra Club has been trying to fight to actually have healthy, safe water and environment in Hawaii, but that's a voluntary citizen organization. That's not the United States. Obviously, Native Hawaiians, we had many of our movements. We had some journalists. There was like Empire Files showed up. The usual anti-imperialist global true resistance sort of journalists and activists and organizations. There's Native Hawaiian-led organization, Oahu Water Protectors. It's not all necessarily Native Hawaiians, but many of them are, and they're connected with Native Hawaiian movement, grassroots, and other movements. We had to all online, offline, media, in person, demonstrating, showing up, all kind of campaigns, all forms of resistance were taken. But yeah, the U.S. military left us to fend for ourselves in Hawaii. They left the people. In Kapilina beach homes. Sorry, my computer is freaking. In particular, there's non-military civilians, right? Just Hawaiian local people who were not informed that their water was connected to the military's toxified water system. The thing is, the entire aquifer, the majority of the fresh water for the south side of Oahu, where most of the people are, is all endangered. The local water supply specifically for the U.S. military base around the Pearl Harbor area, that was super so highly contaminated that it smelled like a gas station inside of people's houses. Just turning on the sink, like people got burns on their thighs just sitting on a toilet because of how much the gasoline vapor, right, that was coming. There's so much gasoline vapor, right, just evaporating from the toilet water into the air that it actually burned people's legs, just the air. Okay, so so there was just ultra high. It was absolutely undrinkable, right? And people had already bathed their kids. People had made their coffee, made their breakfast with that water. Like thousands of people, right? Family. And we're not just soldiers. We're talking. This is citizens in Hawaii. It was children, right? Military. A lot of them were military wives bathing their children. Kids had to go hospital. People were throwing up. Pets. Some pets died. Because the pets just like, they can't necessarily tell, like a dog, right? When the people who were affected by Red Hill's U.S. military jet fuel spill, when they poured water in a dog's dish, some people didn't. They're just going on autopilot. It's early in the morning. You wake up, right? You just make some water for your dog. The dog, like dogs will drink, anything. It could have toxins. The dogs they go really quick, right? So some animals just died. They just drank that jet fuel. They drank the U.S. military's jet fuel in Hawaii, and then they just died, right? Some dogs got extremely sick. Children got extremely sick. People were hospitalized. The cancer levels, health deterioration, that stuff is going to be ongoing for indefinitely. The U.S. military was in a lawsuit at the time with regarding Camp Lejeune. This is another huge toxic fiasco where they poisoned their own soldiers. Everywhere the U.S. and the West and its military goes, it poisons everything, really. But this was a major incident, like inside the United States. So-called closed permanent. I already showed that one. Sorry, I'm trying to Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, just a little bit of background. So the U.S. military itself still regards Hawaii as the linchpin. Some people might say, well, like, uh, this is a why is there so much U.S. military presence in Hawaii? Hawaii is the highest per capita and per acre United States military presence. Well, Hawaii is the linchpin, so-called, of U.S. military strategy in the Asia-Pacific region and the command center of what is been called a transnational garrison state. From its headquarters in Honolulu, the Pacific Command, it's actually upgraded to the Indo-Pacific Command. It's even bigger now. This is a little bit out of date, but it's actually worse than this. And the commander-in-chief of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, U.S. CINCPAC, manages a vast network of overseas bases and enforces U.S. hegemony in the Asia-Pacific region. It's the Indo-Asia-Pacific region. Hawaii has also served as the staging area for the U.S. to launch its wars into Vietnam and Iraq. Not just those, basically every U.S. war, including its current genocidal campaign in Yemen, of those people, and also in support of another genocide the U.S. is doing. Those are all staged, launched, field operated, and if not, it's not necessarily in Indo-Pacific Command, but it is all operated in part. The aircraft carriers, right? They're part of this Indo-Pacific Command. They come out of this region, and they're managed by this region, and the headquarters is in Hawaii. So that is another toxic entity forced onto us as well. Okay, so and just a little bit on the background. Of course, you might know this if you follow my streams and videos. The U.S. military won't acknowledge or clean its catastrophic spill. At this time, it hadn't acknowledged it. The U.S. was just denying that it had happened. Because the U.S. is illegally occupying Hawaii as a platform to plunder China, bomb Vietnam, Korea, Afghanistan, make war on the world, and try to hold on to its fading hegemony. The U.S.-owned troops in and Hawaiian natives are expendable pawns. And that's just some more of the history, in case you don't know that. So this is literally admitted by the president, former president of the United States, McKinley. President McKinley. We must have Hawaii to help us get our share of China. They're still trying to do that, by the way. They're trying to get DeepSeek. They will never get it because it's open source, so the capitalism can't have it, and also they can't have the Chinese technology that's light years ahead of them. Okay, anyways, this is the U.S. bombing Vietnam. These wars were staged and carried from Hawaii. So there is the staging. Like, actually, Native Hawaiians were made to play Viet Cong people in like these practice exercises. It's really disgusting. So we had white American soldiers shooting at Native Hawaiians, shooting at them, practicing in the Hawaiian jungle. The U.S. developed and tested Agent Orange in Hawaii. Many Hawaiians got sick and died from Agent Orange in Hawaii. Now, many millions more people in Asia and in the world have died because of the United States genocidal war criminal deployment of Agent Orange. Ask the actual Vietnamese people and other people in that region how the United States used that. But it created it, it tested it, it developed it with the University of Hawaii. Millions of grants to the University of Hawaii. So this is all sick. Like, the University of Hawaii is a toxic institution in itself. What kind of institution develops some of the most heinous weapons in the world and then collaborates with the worst empire in the world to kill millions of people? What kind of university is that? What kind of professors do that? And also, this is another thing in the history, just to go back to this time. Since 1893, when members of the white business community met in a corporate office in Honolulu to plan a coup against the elected government of Queen Liliuokalani, they were not sure how far they wanted to go, but they knew they had the support of the chief U.S. diplomat in Hawaii. So many of these people, right, were, they were people that are directly connected to the current capitalist infection of parasites that we have, such as Dole, Bob and Sanford Dole, of Dole Pineapple. I have a whole thing about Hawaiian pizza. Then there's also the Thurstons, Alexander and Baldwin were connected to this. So old, and the U.S. military was directly connected to this. Dillingham, in collaboration with McKinley. And these are just various capitalist, wealthy white guys, imperialists, who collaborated together to individually enrich themselves. Also, the head of the Hawaiian Electric Company. Right, prior to the United States occupation, Hawaii had nationalized renewable hydropower, the water of life. It also was the water of renewable electricity. We had the world's first cities in Hawaii that were powered by hydropower, and these people turned it into from nationalized socialist renewable electricity in Honolulu. They turned it to private, white man-owned capitalist fossil fuel electricity. So you could see the reversal in terms of environment, in terms of economic justice, right? And then it's also racist, because it was like, we got to get rid of all the Hawaiians and put white guys in charge. And it's also sexist, because they overthrew Liliuokalani because they hated it was a brown woman, and women were in-house slaves, and the non-white people were the outhouse slaves. And well, sometimes, sometimes both, but so the racism, the colonialism, the capitalism, all you can see it right there. As I was talking about earlier, the end of the U.S. illegal occupation of Hawaii and its military death-starved Indo-Pacific command are vital for avoiding devastating Cold Hot War with China, undoing global capitalism and imperialism, and dealing with climate change. The CLV idea is still a problem, and decolonization. Just to point out something, many people will say, well, Silver Spook. Yes, okay, maybe the United States did poison Hawaii. Okay, maybe the United States military bases in Hawaii are not great. Okay, your Native Hawaiian perspective, I heard what you said, but if, right, let me find this tweet. Somebody just said this. Yes, the United States and its military occupation, its colonialism in Hawaii is not great, but right, if Hawaii, where is it? If Hawaii was not controlled by the United States, then China or Russia would do the same thing we did. Right? Somebody just said that. So this person, I'm not going to say who it is because it doesn't matter. It's Donald Trump's vice doge, professional self-enricher. His name is Big Dick. Anyways, I don't know. The Hawaiian Islands are an important and strategic place. If the United States disowned Hawaii, China would literally march in and take over. Even if we gave Hawaii 100 years to build up a country, China would still walk right in, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, this is often the refrain that is said. Well, imperialism is inevitable. Capitalism is inevitable. Might makes right is inevitable. Colonialism is inevitable. Humans are just bad, and these humans make these big things called states, countries, empires, and they're just going to step on you. So that's just false. Because China would not do that, and we Hawaiians would be better off as autonomous region of China rather than illegally occupied and oppressed by the United States. And it is provably false. I mean, this picture says it all. Okay, the United States has toxic, poisoning military bases. Ask the Okinawans in Okinawa. In 70% of all military bases in Japan are in less than 1% of the land. It's Okinawa. But not all. There's also military bases inside of the Japanese territory. Japan is a dual collaborative vassal colonizer that is also colonizing Okinawa. The U.S. has military bases in South Korea. That is an illegal military occupation, just like Hawaii. It's illegitimate. The United States is talking about Iran needs to stop its nuclear weapons program. Iran with this belligerence. Iran isn't doing anything to anyone. Iran doesn't have 800 military bases around the world. Iran isn't committing genocide in West Asia. Iran also in Sudan and Congo. Iran isn't poisoning Hawaii's water supply. Iran isn't in so many dozens of countries in Africa, killing and supporting horrible dictatorships and horrible murderous forces there to extract the resources. Okay, so Iran is, if the U.S. has nuclear weapons and the U.S. is a known toxic, planetary, destructive, just cancer of the earth, really, just destroying everything. The land, the water, the people, liquidating entire populations, maintaining the most horrible systems, keeping the billionaire oligarchy, transnational elite in control of so much of the earth, right? The U.S. has used nuclear weapons on people, so Iran has the right to have nuclear weapons. North Korea hasn't been invaded. Iraq has. What's the difference? One has nuclear weapons. Or Libya. What's the difference? North Korea had nuclear weapons. Gaddafi didn't. The United States has no right to tell anyone anything about anything. The United States is a rogue state. The United States is a toxin, as are all its vassals of Europe, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Japan. South Korea's a little puppet dictatorship. And China doesn't have any military bases around the rest of the world. They have socialism with Chinese characteristics. They have a communist party. They don't have a global, international military occupation, unjust, colonial, crimes against humanity, violating the UN, Geneva Convention, and the United Nations, all the rules, basically, all the most important rules. So it is just categorically false that one side is doing this. One side is poisoning the water, poisoning the land, cannon fodderizing the population, just like Hawaiians are disproportionately represented in Vietnam War, Korean War, Iraq War, Gulf War, and we wouldn't be if you weren't occupied and brainwashed by the United States. Illegitimate, education's great. The United States doesn't have a Department of Education. That's Department of Capitalist Colonialist Conditioning and Cannon Fodderization. That's why they're trying to, there's no education in the West. I would argue there's conditioning to make sure that people are good cogs in their colonial capitalist machine, in their empire. Empires don't have education. Empires have centurion training program. That's different from education, I would argue. China has education. That's why they have DeepSeek. That's why they have artificial suns. That's why they're going to crack cold fusion, unlike the U.S. Because the U.S. doesn't have true education, and it has some learning and some STEM enough to make Lockheed Martin products and plagiarism software like ChatGPT. But that's not education. And also, China, if we were part of, China categorically does not. China has relations with Cuba. Cuba is not part of the United States orbit. But China doesn't occupy Cuba and go, okay, Cuba, now you're going to be our unsinkable aircraft carrier, and we're going to put missiles in Cuba, and we're going to own Cuba. Even Russia didn't own Cuba either, right? But Russia said, Cuba, if you want to defend yourself, right? There was a Cuban Missile Crisis, right? So Russia and China both don't occupy, poison all the Cubans, right? Subjugate all the Cubans, ban the Cuban language. China doesn't go into Guam, right? Or the second that the U.S. leaves the place, China doesn't go in. China didn't go into North Korea and go, okay, all of North Korea, you all going to speak Mandarin. North Korea, you're going to be our unsinkable aircraft carrier against the United States and South Korea, right? Russia didn't go into Yemen and go, okay, Yemen, now you're fighting the United States. Okay, Yemen, you're a vassal of Russia now. We're going to put Russian aircraft carriers we're going to put Russian, unwanted Russian bases and poison Yemen's land and have all the Yemenis work like a slave labor force, just like the U.S. does to Hawaiians. You see what I'm saying? It's not even close. They're trying to Russia, Iran, North Korea. They are far more moral. They're not, none of them are, they're not the same. They're not all perfect, but they are actually resisting actual empire. And the empire is the Euro, white, racist, capitalist, imperialist, and all their vassals. Whether that's HDS, there's the Turkic branch of that, and Erdogan is president. Then there's the Japanese branch of that. They work together, and they're subjugating the Okinawans, like I said, with the United States. But those that are on the other side of the United States and the collective Western imperial order, they don't do the same thing. So if Hawaii became a part of the Belt and Road Initiative, it would have become an autonomous region of China. But if it became part of the Belt and Road Initiative, became part of the SCO, became part of the BRICS, we would be treated better. I know, because I know many Cubans that are happy with the billions of free dollars to build their infrastructure China is giving them. I know this because Africans are happy with their treatment. It's not perfect because sometimes there's there's still some corporations because of internal contradictions, but they are, even Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, they're happy to keep working with the Chinese, not with the United States. Not with the United States. They're not happy to work with US and France and Britain and NATO in Africa. But they're happy to work with China, and they're happy to work with Russia. Especially Russia helps them to get rid of colonizers. So anyway, but those are just basic facts that even some non-white people and even some indigenous people and even, you know, some people who call themselves anti-imperialist, they don't want to deal with those facts because it's kind of scary. And also because the United States brainwashes people, even who claim themselves to be anti-colonial, anti-imperialist, to do the bidding of colonialism and imperialism through universities and other institutions, not just in universities, but that's one of them, like University of Hawaii, which is a toxic system. So, you know, and you know, of course, most Americans, I hope most Americans realize this. You need your imperialist military spending to keep greasing the palms of your billionaire class. And it's also, it should be pointed out that I said, oh, but seriously, you just said that Iran should have nuclear weapons. No, yeah, anybody, if you have nuclear armed, belligerent, genocidal, murderous, colonialist, planet destroying evils, you need to be able to resist those, and that's justified. You know, once there are no empires, right? Once the toxins of the world, once the toxin pushers, right? Both the opium warriors, the fentanyl traffickers, which is who? The United States and the collective capitalist Western governments, imperialists like the British, the French before the United States, grew it in India. The U.S. grew it in Afghanistan to fund their CIA and their international imperial operations. Once they're not narco trafficking, fentanyl, once the U.S. stops fentanyl trafficking, the United States federal government and wealthy majority white it's actually a lot of white real estate agents, U.S. police and U.S. police and federal officials are a lot of people that are traffic this stuff, the CIA itself. So once they stop trafficking their drugs everywhere, the U.S. and Japan also collaborate bringing meth to Hawaii. You know, so we don't need any more of that, right? We don't need more of that. Methamphetamine was used by Japanese to have massive 24-hour child slaves that developed their economy in the Japanese empire. That's part of why they specialize in that meth. And the Canadians were also trafficking meth into China. Four of them were executed. So once you stop trafficking your drugs, you stop trafficking your military poison, like your oil, stop trafficking your weapons, your broken weapons. Your weapons don't even work. The Japanese, a Chinese 6th generation fighter works. The U.S. has a pipe dream called the I forget what it's called, the F-47. But like, stop traffic. But the main thing is stop in the trafficking of the colonial capitalist, racist, imperialist system, you know, as a whole, in the minds of everyone, and your brainwashing, right? You know, that's corrupting everything that was functional and good and advanced and civilized about Hawaii before this U.S. barbarism came in. You know, which is obviously the world has seen this. This is not unique to Hawaii. It's been 500 years to this. But yeah, it's Oahu as a whole, coming back to the present and leaving the macro level. Oahu is the island of Hawaii of Oahu is still threatened. Waikiki is still threatened. And to bring it to this very moment, where is that? Yeah. So I'm not gonna play this video because you know, but you can go watch it. Hawaii, the United States military is trying to reopen closed wells. So these are water sources, right? These are water sources that were shut down because they were shown to be like just extremely toxic levels of fossil fuel. There's also PFOS, forever chemicals, AFFF, firefighting foam. It's hyper toxic, very hard to get rid of. The Chinese, Hawaii needs to join the Belt and Road Initiative so we can get the Chinese solutions to seemingly intractable problems. Because the Chinese have already invented a new technology based on like the cartilage of squid. It's some like advanced bio nano material that can like rapidly remove microplastics, right? So the U.S. is never going to do that, and they're not going to invent it, and they're not going to deploy it. They can't even deploy it, even if they wanted to. That's another reason why actually we need to be joining more with the global majority and with BRICS, so we can get the solutions to the U.S. military's poisoning of our water, because there might be a solution, there might be a way to deal with that efficiently with some new technological breakthrough, but the U.S. does not have it. And the longer that Hawaii remains with the United States, illegally occupied by the United States, the more these repeated, because, you know, if the entire aquifer of Hawaii or multiple aquifers or something else, you know, Akua forbids something else happen, every second the U.S. is in Hawaii, Hawaii is in jeopardy. It could become even more uninhabitable. It could be even more destroyed. Every second the U.S. is in Hawaii, more Hawaiians leave Hawaii. In the trail, the U.S. calls it the Trail of Hawaiian Tears, where because they make it so exorbitantly expensive and cost of living so high, most Hawaiians are forced out of Hawaii. More than half Hawaiians don't live in Hawaii. So every second the U.S. is in Hawaii, we are being we are being culturally displaced. We're being ethnically cleansed from our land, not as horribly as in Palestine, but we are being forced out. So every second the U.S. is in Hawaii, it's destroying Hawaii. So the sooner we get this occupation out, the sooner we can move in another direction. Now, of course, the U.S. might get mad and try to do something like it often does to places that don't do exactly what it says. But also, look at AES, look at Africa, look at Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Yeah, their leaders under threat. They're saying the U.S. and the Europeans are saying, we are going to assassinate your Ibrahim Traore, just like we killed Sankara, just like we killed Gaddafi. We're gonna kill you. We're gonna bomb you into the Stone Age. I don't see the U.S. succeeding though. I see them losing. They're friendly to the RSF genociders in Sudan, Congo, and or they're definitely in Sudan. They just lost in Khartoum. So, yes, the U.S., the collective West, the Europeans, the white racist capitalist colonialist world has done horrors to the world, but they're getting weaker every day. And the sooner that we like get some courage and push back harder and harder everywhere, not just in Hawaii, the more of our land, our culture, our all of our indigenous cultures of various kinds, all the resources and all the health of the people will be preserved. Every time the empire loses one of its footholds, all of its footholds get weaker. Every time it gains, like when it succeeded in Syria at committing horrible atrocities and destroying that country to maintain its capitalist planetary empire, then it increased in power and it got more bold, right? But each time but that ultimately that's going to backfire, I feel. And so anyway, long story short, so let me try to stay in the present until we wrap this up. So long story short, so the U.S. military is still trying to, it is now trying to reopen these wells. Okay, the U.S. military is trying to force us in Hawaii, and that if you come to Hawaii, that includes you, by the way. You shouldn't be coming here right now because of reasons I can't go into at the moment. But all tourism, 99% of it is not owned by us. The hotels aren't. We don't benefit from it. It benefits imperialist, capitalist colonizers. But not all tourism. I'm just saying here because of the situation. And long story short, the U.S. military is trying to force us in Hawaii to reopen this poisoned well. It was shown to have not decent drinking water because of its PFAS, fossil fuel, petroleum. And the U.S. military is saying the water is fine. The citizens and the journalists and the regulator, the local Hawaiian people that are concerned with their own people, they're saying, hey, this water is not safe. This water is not safe. Where's the evidence that it's safe? The military is saying, no, it's totally fine. Here's a bunch of information, right? And the people are saying, I can't find the information. It's all vague. It's hard to navigate. The military is saying the water is safe. like here's a bunch of words and here's a giant mess. If you dig deep enough in that, you'll see that we are not lying. The U.S. military has lied for the last 70 years, right? It has spilled, again, at least dozens of times. It has lied every single time. There is absolutely no credibility to the United States military. Whatever it says is worth less than toilet paper, right? And so basically, what the U.S. and its military is doing is trying to force Native Hawaiians to drink poison. That's basically what it's doing. I don't know what the point of that is. But the U.S. military isn't even using this well they want to reopen. Okay, and you can read more about this. As I said, I don't have time to play it over. You can watch it, but I don't quite understand why does the United States military that isn't using this aquifer want citizens and Hawaiian people to drink poison? Why do you want Hawaiians to drink poison? Well, I know why. You killed the Native Americans by killing all the buffalo. You're poisoning Palestinians by starving them. Trying to kill Yemen by starving them. You sent toxic wheat in U.S. aid to Syria to try to kill them. So, okay, but it's a little bit weird, like you want to publicly just be like, Hawaiians, open this well up and drink the poison. Like, open the well up, drink our jet fuel. It's like the U.S. military is like giving us a glass of water with jet fuel. It's just such a weird thing to do. Wouldn't you want to like pretend like it's safe? But it's just the way they're doing it. It's like, no, it's totally safe. It's kind of bizarre. I think the U.S. military is losing its entire mind. It never really had one, but anyway. So long story short, let's end it. I'm trying to finish these things faster. You get the point. So Hawaii, and just a little bit more on that article. Let me just follow Oahu Water Protectors for updates on that. What is going on there? See Hawaii. But there's a bunch of news reports. A lot of these news reports. This is all corporate U.S. controlled Western corporate media. But here's just one of the. This is a mainstream corporate capitalist U.S. controlled media update. Navy plans to all news in Hawaii. Almost all news in Hawaii is owned by some Wall Street conglomerate, including this one. Navy plans to reactivate a water source for military communities, raising concerns. So this is the Navy's Hawaii Aiea Ho'olava shaft was closed after 4 years after a 20,000 gallon. For the last 4 years because of a 20,000 gallon jet fuel spill, like I already said, in December 2021. The drinking water for the Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam has come from the Navy's Waiawa shaft, but the military wants to reactivate the Aiea Halava shaft as a backup water source. Okay, so you're saying they want to activate it as a backup water source. On its Safe Waters website, the Navy said this resilience will allow the NAHS to supplement and offer a contingency source of potable water should the Waiawa shaft water system be compromised. It has been testing positive for PFAS for some time now, and we don't know what else is in there. And that's the problem here with this issue because we don't have access to the groundwater test. This is from the video. It said, Healani Sonora Pale, she's been a longtime activist against these pollution and destruction of Hawaii's water. One of the members of the Red Hill Community Representative Initiative, Navy has a drinking water monitoring website, but Sonora Pale and others said it's hard to use. She believes the test results should be included on that website. It should be listed where the Waiawa shaft is listed. The Waiawa shaft groundwater testing results are on that website, but not the Halava shaft. So anyways, so she asked them, where's the data? And they were scrambling like, oh no, we're going to get that data up. It's not there. Said Michelle Poplar, a resident of Kapolina Beach Homes. Kapolina Beach Homes was poisoned and people there, the children went into hospital. They went into seizure. They had seizures when the U.S. military first poisoned the water and didn't tell them. Kids were just inhaling vast quantities, toxic quantities of gasoline fumes, drinking it. It was a nightmare. Kapolina Beach Home is severely affected. Another Navy staff said the problem would be fixed, but Sonora Pale said it would take about 2 months. This information does not get out there publicly, however, not in such a way where the public actually sees it. So, long story short, it seems like the U.S. military, they want a backup water system that's full of PFAS and jet fuel. I don't know what else to tell you, right? right? It's just here, drink poison. We're gonna kill Hawaiians, and we're gonna kill military personnel. The U.S. military even poisoned the children of field grade officers, which is the top 2%. These people are making multi six figures, and the U.S. military poisoned its own colonels. So that's making America great again. And not that I care too much. I mean, I don't care. Nobody should be hurt, but I don't particularly care about people who commit genocide around the world, like all U.S. military personnel. But even still, they shouldn't. Their children, the babies, infants of these generals, these colonels, they should not be drinking jet fuel. But the U.S. military poisoned its own babies. The babies of its own colonels, America poisoned and lied to them. So that's, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. That was 4 years ago. That was under Biden, the good president. Anyways, let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support us, though, in all seriousness, no, Red Hill really needs to be shut down. The U.S. military needs to get out of Hawaii. The U.S. occupation of Hawaii needs to end. Remember, water is life. Water is life, and also to keep the water, we need mass, collective, organized resistance, and end of the capitalist system, the colonial system, and resumption of Kuleana, Pono, and Aloha Aina, which are values and systems that predate Western occupation and that we built in the 1800s when we had the most advanced country in the world, world's first universal healthcare system, the world's first renewable powered cities with nationalized electricity in Hawaii under Liliuokalani, under Kalakaua. And one more little article, you want to check it out. I don't think this is not even a Hawaiian person that wrote this, but even non-Hawaiians realize that Hawaii must become self-governing. A sovereign state for all people of Hawaii is the only path away from military occupation, environmental destruction, and corporate control from abroad. So this is actually another person who lives in Hawaii. I'm pretty sure maybe they are, but I'm not. It was not explicitly stated that acknowledged that we need a sovereign, non-U.S. occupied country of Hawaii, not the state, U.S. state of Hawaii. And that's a whole other topic. But read this article if you want to learn more about that. From even a not Hawaiian person, just someone who lives in Hawaii. Okay. If you want to help us out, consider donating directly to ko-fi.com/silverspook, and that does help us out, and maximum revenue reaches us that way. Just if you want to thank us for this indigenous anti-imperialist education, and also you can help us out at patreon.com/Neofeud in an ongoing fashion to help us keep on doing this streams, education, and also we do anti-colonial indigenous land back work, restoring the Aina as best as we can here in Hawaii. Aina, also known as the land, and with the water. Thankfully, we had some vai fall today. It was a little bit dry yesterday. It was very hot, but we're trying to restore the land as much as possible, despite the U.S. and its military poisoning us. We're trying to clean as much of the toxins mentally, physically, and inside of our natural relatives' territory as possible. And of course, you can also help us finish. I also make video games for a living, also. Such as Neofeud 2, which is a game about all these problems and systems in a science fictional retro adventure game. You can also help us out by grabbing Neofeud on the Steam site, such as grabbing Neofeud on the Steam website, and that does help us keep paying these bills as well. As an anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist cyberpunk adventure game where you a robot social worker for homeless robots, and an ex-con android kid, and a ex-trillionaire princess try to stop planet poisoners with techno CEO kings ruling over wastelands that used to be their constituencies. And if you want to also get this game, but you don't have Steam, or you don't use it, or you don't have Windows, you can get Neofeud for Windows, Mac, and Linux. And also, if you have a web browser, you can also play this game. If you can run Google Chrome or Firefox on your computer, you can play Neofeud. It's been tested. So you can also get it there, and you can also get Decolonators, which is a game about the place where the U.S. Agent Orange was deployed. It was invented by the University of Hawaii, this horrible substance invented by U.S. illegal University of Hawaii, deployed on Vietnam. And this is a story from our Vietnamese comrades, of our Vietnamese comrades that I made with our friend Luna Oi in another retro video game. And there's also Woman is a book by Holly, who was raised in right-wing Christian culture, and is about critiquing that culture in the form of Mary's perspective within the Bible. And yeah, you can get that for free, or you can donate some money when you pick it up. You can also follow us at Xiaohongshu. Xiaohongshu is another social media site. Xiaohongshu is a social media site that isn't run by a capitalist, planet-destroying, planetary slave plantation genocidal empire. It's run by a communist party. So that makes it much better than the U.S. You can say Free Palestine all you want, and you don't get deranked and shadow banned. So that's really great about this. I make sure I gotta always at least check it out and do something on it because the Western platforms are all complicit in all the crimes against humanity. So you can also follow us and it was silence people on a routine basis, not just kidnapping them on college campuses for trying to stop genocide. You can also follow at Silverspoon Games at wandering.shop and or at Silverspoon Games at mastodon.social. And we're also on Blue Sky if people use the Blue Sky. And you can also follow on Twitter at Silverspook Guy for my personal takes on stuff. And of course at Silverspook Games, minus the E in silver for the games related stuff. On the games, I am currently voice acting my butt off on Neofeud 2. I did 20,000 words of voice acting in the last few days. So that was like many hours. Many hours. I'm voice acting the main character. He has 30,000. So I'm about 2/3 done. He has like half a book of dialogue. Neofeud 2 is 2 novels, 700 pages. So anyways, you can follow the games. So if you want to learn more about the games, maybe I'm not talking about the games too much today, but I sometimes talk about them. You can also follow Holly at Allergic to Blue. Holly, of course, is moderator, Silverspook, cooperative partner in marriage, partner in raising keiki or children, and it's Hawaiian for Holly. Is also haole. Haole means it is not Hawaiian for Holly. That's haole is a person that is not from Hawaii, or is not from here, right? That's actually what it means. It is not Hawaiian but lives in Hawaii, and so land back doesn't mean everybody who isn't an indigenous person has to like immediately be kicked out and leave. If you're gonna be mistreating people and the place and not respectful, then that might be a problem. But so anyways, Holly is also of course Allergic to Blue partner, and of course sharing important information like this, because guess what, we're still inside of all the toxins coming in, these things that are coming through the body. It's called viruses, and so we gotta prevent that from happening as much as possible, as well as not drinking gasoline water. We need to not breathe in horrible virus filled air. So yeah, thank you so much to all of our Patreon patrons. Without your support, it's hard for us to keep doing this work. So thank you so much to all of you folks for your gracious patronage. And yeah, shut down Red Hill, shut down U.S. empire, capitalism, and colonialism, shut down U.S. military in Hawaii and U.S. occupation of Hawaii, free our water from these toxins, and free our minds from all of those other toxins. And until next time, have a good time. And sorry, I lost my